Hello everyone and welcome to another technical analysis webinar with Trevor Neil. Thank you all for joining us. As always, we'll aim to get through everything in approximately 30 minutes. If you have any questions for Trevor, you can ask them in the questions tab of your GoToWebinar control panel and I'll pass those over to him. And please don't be shy about asking questions, we love them. We remind you that this webinar will be posted to our YouTube channel later on today. So if you'd like to watch it again, you can do so there. And we'd also love it if you subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to get notified. The webinar handouts can be downloaded from the handouts tab of the control panel. If you're having any problems locating or downloading them, please just let me know and I'll send you a link. The first handout is a guide to the different technical terms and indicators that Trevor uses during the webinar. And the second is a CFD guide, which details all the different products that we offer at FX Choice. If you're watching this on YouTube, these handouts will be available in the description box. Please just click show more and you'll be able to see them there. At the end of today's webinar, there'll be a short survey, so we ask you to take part and it helps us improve the webinar. Please just take a couple of minutes to fill it in. Sure, our technical analyst doesn't need any introduction, but we'll do so anyway. Trevor has over 40 years experience as a technical analyst and trader and was global head of technical analysis at Bloomberg. So Trevor, without further ado, over to you.
Morning everybody, morning Dan, thank you very much indeed. As Dan said, we really love questions, so please. If you have anything, any market that you'd like me to cover, or any comments you've got about what I've said, or anything you think that I haven't said and I should have said, I would be delighted to hear. Just send it in the chat box to Dan and he'll relay it on to me. Well, we're going to start with the currencies, then move through to the cryptos, then to commodities, precious metals and commodities, and then to the stock indices. Right, starting with the big one, the euro, and you can see it's really generally rather flat. The ADX tells us it's at 19, that's a trendless market by definition, and that's what we've got. So it's moving sideways. This is despite the fact that the dollar itself is quite steady, but it is sort of pivotal and it's moving with the dollar. And let me show you a picture of that here. So to show you that moving with the dollar, correlating with the dollar, I'll go to the relative rotation graph. And you can see here, if you haven't seen this before, we have a quadrant on the x-axis. So going from left to right along here, the things which are furthest to the right are outperforming the dollar, which is in the center. So the yen is the weakest currency and New Zealand dollar is the strongest currency. The dots here, the tails here, is Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. It's the last week of trading and the direction of it. On the vertical and the y-axis, it's the positive momentum of the performance. So if we take the pound, for example, here, it's moving in a southwesterly reading, and southwesterly means it's losing outperformance, and it's also losing momentum of outperformance as well. So that's another way of saying it's weakening, but it is still right of this vertical line, which means it's outperforming. And that's the direction of them all, isn't it? They're all, except for the yen, heading southwest in direction. So with they're all have been outperforming the dollar, but are weakening, and that's what we'll see in the chart. But what we also see is the euro right in the crosshair itself. That's the flatness that we're seeing in the absolute chart. It's moving with the dollar. Dollar goes up, it goes up, dollar goes down, it goes down. It's the dollar. Really, at the moment, it's stuck with the dollar. Japanese yen over to the left on here, and it's it did look as though it was trying to strengthen. It's being blunted very slightly, but it's on its own in the G10 currencies. All the rest of them are varying degrees to the right, the commodity currencies and the Swiss and the pound. But heading southwesterly, so weakening. So this makes sense. Then when we look at the euro here, it's flat. It's flat because it's moving with the dollar. The dollar itself is moving, but the euro is moving with it. So it's forming a range. If we look at the weekly chart of it here, we can see that it's ranging, but it's relatively weak, isn't it? We've got high, lower high, lower high. We had this head and shoulders pattern, high, 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 lower high, it's the big picture stuff. Neckline break, retest, failure. The minimum price objective, long-term objective from that head and shoulders pattern is 111, right down here. And all these indicators here, the RSI and the MACD, are looking rather weak. It does pick up support really around 111, so that's perfectly viable and feasible in the longer term. It's got support, of course, at these lows here, 115.23 and here too, there. But those supports are very weak, I think, supports. Resistance, lots of resistance above because we've had all that churning about. The resistance starts at 116.92. But it's sideways and relatively weak. But as a speculative opportunity against the dollar, it's not really offering anything at all at the moment because it's moving with the dollar. Let's move to a commodity currency. Let's look at the Australian dollar first now. And this is, of course, the Australian dollar versus the dollar. So moving down here means the Australian dollar itself is weakening. On the weekly chart, we have this head and shoulders top here, high, 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 low, high neckline break, fulfilled its objective. The objective was 72 from the count, from the head to the neckline, and then it's bounced to the neckline. It's another little one for your album of a previous significant support level becoming a new resistance level, and we backed off from that there. And so the Australian dollar is weakening. That's what we saw on the graph on the RRG there as it turns around and heads southwest. It is weakening. And so going now to the daily chart, this is it weakening here, heading towards important support, two levels of support, one at 71.70 and the other at this low from August at 71.04. Those two important levels which look like their targets. As far as resistance is concerned, well, the big resistance here is at 75.55. But the indicators, the RSI is weak, the MACD is weak. It's looking weak, and it really looks as though it wants to go down and test those supports. So the RRG tells us that picture, the southwesterly direction. Australian dollar is one of the ones that's leading it. Another one is the Canadian dollar. That Canadian dollar, of course, presented the other way up. So this rise here is rise in the US dollar, weakness. So this is the weakness in the Canadian dollar. So that's what we're seeing on the RRG chart too, weakness in the Canadian dollar. It has been outperforming, but it's now weakening. We've got support here at 122.87, resistance at 125 and at 129.38 up here. But there's a really big band of resistance, dollar resistance here, which we're moving in towards. So I think this move is going to extend a bit further. That's what the short term, the daily chart is indicating, that we will continue to steady in the dollar, weaken in the Canadian dollar, but around the 125 level, the resistance becomes very stiff. Dollar resistance becomes very stiff, and that's where I think it will be stifled there. Then we should look at the yen. The yen is really very interesting. So first of all, let's look at the yen itself, and then we'll look at it versus some other, at least one other market. So here is the yen, but what is interesting about it is the weekly chart. Now look at this, what we're doing here. This is the 2018 high. So we've pushed up here, the dollar has pushed up here, down, weakness in the yen, and we're being testing this level. This is why we're hesitating at this level here. And it's looking fair at that level, but it is still, the resistance is strong. So this sideways movement here is really a test of a very important 2018 high. Is it going to break it? Well, the indication at the moment, as far as I can see, is that it's not ready to do it yet. We haven't got a lot of power. The Bollinger Bands have narrowed up a lot. They haven't squeezed, so that's not sort of a threatening volatility break. It's just a low volatility. You can see it here. The ADX is coming down, so the trend is weakening. The RSI is weak, and the MACD is also weak. So this is looking like it's going to continue to consolidate and drift a little bit, but all close to the high itself, and maybe it will gain its energy later. So watch this one here. We could either fail significantly, and it will be very significant, If it fails here, look what happened the last time, it failed here, or finally make the break. So I'm expecting the yen to be very pivotal in dominating the markets in the coming weeks and months. Let me just show you euro yen, which, as you can imagine, is a very similar picture, but it's slightly below its high here. You know, we've got that correlation with the euro with the dollar, but it hasn't always correlated with the dollar, so this high is a bit lower here. So watch out for that. All right, if we've got no questions, I'm going to move on to the cryptocurrencies next.
Actually, Trevor, we do have one question, but it's only just come in right now.
Yeah.
The question is, hi, Trevor, what about British pound, Swiss franc?
Okay, just bear with me while I do that.
That question is from Wesley. Thanks for your question, Wesley.
Thank you, Wesley. GBP
versus Swiss.
CHF. Yeah. I have a shortened list here for these sessions, just so I can move around it quickly. So, GBP CHF, there it is there. There it is there. Okay, now, thank you very much, Wesley, for pointing this out. That's an interesting one. So GBPCHF, and just as I'm thinking out loud here, I see GBP and I see CHF. So CHF is further to the right, it's stronger than the British pound, which is further to the left, and the British pound is swinging down quite strongly in the southwesterly direction. Whereas you can see the samples here on the Swissy are close together, so it means it's quite stable, outperforming and quite stable compared to the pound, which is deteriorating quite a lot. This is me thinking out loud here. So this is moving down here is the weakness of the pound. So that's that pattern that we saw on the RRG, and it's breaking down. It's broken this important low here, the 124.69. That now becomes resistance. But what we have got here is this ascending triangle here. I like to do my resistance lines in red normally, but sorry, I haven't got time to do that. Or you don't want to wait till I tidy it up. But this is the ascending triangle here. We broke up from it, powered ahead, but we're now coming back to support. So 122 is pretty important support. So if I was in this, I'm not, but if I wasn't in this, it is looking weak. A pound to deteriorate more against the Swiss franc, but it's coming into an area of support soon, and so we may be close to it for it. We have got a bit more to go, that's for sure. So looking at the daily chart here, we've got quite strong negative message, but you know it's always important to look at the big picture, and we're approaching that support at 122, and I'd be, you know, whatever you do when you feel a move that's working in your favor is under threat, I wouldn't jump out of it if you were lucky enough to be, not lucky enough, clever enough to be in this trade, but I'd be tightening my stops up quite substantially at from 122 and down. You know, you might have had your stop wide so you could survive rallies like this one here, but then I think something like the 2-bar high or something like that would be much more relevant, and you know, you need to be much more aggressive in your stop loss. Okay, I hope that's helpful for you. Thank you for that question. Okay, if you're happy, we'll move on to Bitcoin now, to cryptos now. Now you can see that everything's on the right here. Now what they have done is, when we were talking last week, they were moving in a southwesterly direction, and just shorten up those tails now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's the week, and this is more of a northeasterly direction, especially in Ethereum here. So outperforming the dollar and gaining momentum, positive momentum of the outperformance. And so these, particularly Ethereum, looking really, really good here on the chart. So here's Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is, let's get the on the weekly chart, breaking, and to me it's at a new high. It doesn't matter that the the spike high. That was a very weak top in the market. Really, this consolidation and that high there was the high. To me, it's, I know that not in absolute terms, it's not a new high, but it's broken through the resistance. It's broken through the resistance. 60,000 is the resistance, big round number, but it's now support. We're on our way into the blue sky here. So here's a picture of it here. This is the weak resistance. I do think that that's unlikely to cause it much trouble. The ADX is at 22, so still a weak trend is the message here. The RSI has turned up nicely. The MACD is crossing. This is a great opening today and does bode well for it. But is there something better? Well, I think there is actually. That's Ethereum. So Ethereum, let's look at the weekly chart first. So here's the weekly chart. It had a different type of top. You know, Bitcoin had a much more of consolidation, 60,000 top, and it spent a lot of time there. It was much more stubborn sort of top. 4,000 was a much lighter and easier thing for the market to push through, and it really didn't have a lot of trouble pushing through. It's gone. It's on its way. It's already been on its way. It's powerful. It's gaining strength as it climbs. We've got a nice orderly move up in here. The RSI is pointing up. The MACD is pointing up. You can see it very well, but I can see because of the relationship of those two, it's positive. It's looking good. It's looking strong. We're looking into blue sky for these. So where are we likely to go? Well, I'm doing some measurements here, and so if we just take this A, B, C, where's D? So where's the Fibonacci projection on this? This is up to 4,972, which we're close to now. And a bigger projection would be from A, B, C, D. There, a much higher one for that one. But this one, you know, we're on our way to. As far as the Bitcoin is concerned, I didn't say it at the time. The ABC here, A, B, C, is up to 80,000, and if you take the A, B, C, D, we're at it now. So we reached 100% on this leg here, but on this one here, so if we do push through 100%, let me draw it in so you know what I'm talking about here. So A, B, C, here we're at 100%, but we're breaking through it powerfully now. That means that we usually go to 161.8, which is close to the 100% of the bigger count, which is at 80,000 here, 77 to 80,000. I think we're headed for. It's looking very strong and very bullish and gaining power right at the right moment where you would want it to increase power. So yes, we're off again, higher. Looks like for it. Of course, you can always stumble, and we know what these markets are like. But markets are rising with increasing power. Does usually go further. Let's just mention poor old Litecoin in passing. This one is moving sideways. Yes, it's, you know, the wind is blowing strongly enough that even this turkey is flying a little bit. But look at it in the weekly chart. Those other ones are all through these highs from the middle of last year. And the Q2 highs, but this is nowhere near it. This is a dog. It's a real dog. Moving now to gold, and here on the weekly chart, let's start here. We've got this triangle. I've drawn the upper line as a dashed line because the points don't line up, but we've definitely got high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Currently lower high, and then higher lows in here. So we got this symmetrical triangle, long-term symmetrical triangle, resulting in basically we're churning around the 1800 level. I think we're building up to a big break at some stage. I don't know whether it's going to be up or down. We're currently pointing up, but whether we turn down again at the resistance level, I do not know. But we're breaking 1810 at the moment. That's pretty good. The resistance at 1833 is not that strong. So the tone is bullish for the moment, but the key thing is the breaking of that lower highs pattern. Unfortunately, because they don't line up very well for a technical analysis, it's really difficult to say when it's broken. But we've got the decline, because we can't draw the line so precisely. That's why I put it in this dash. But a strong message would be breaking the 1833. Then it's bleeding obvious, and it will be bleeding obvious to everybody if we break 1916 high as well, the May high as well. But this is, compressed. It's like a coiled spring. It's moving towards the top end where it could break out. We could be really excited about this time next week, or we could be really crushed with disappointment where once again it's turned down. But I think very soon this is going to do one of those two things: burst up or fade again and retest the lower line. So there's a trade here for traders, trade and use your skill at the breakout point itself. And I think because we can't really rely on the downtrend line, we have to use this 1833 high behavior there. If you approach the high with energy, that would be an expansion of the Bollinger Bands, rising volume in it, all those sort of things, then the bet would be that it would make the break. But if it approaches the high with the parallel Bollinger Bands like this, and the RSI not really power, with it's not really got a steep angle, all those sort of signs are not really very strong, then it's probably going to fail and put in another lower high. So watch out for that one. Silver. Now silver is, let's go to the weekly firstly on the silver. Here it's a different pattern. We haven't got that symmetrical triangle. We've got a very clear base around 122. We had the shadows there, this holding 122. We've got a lot of resistance above, but we've got a high here at 24.83 and close to it a high at 24.82. So we've got these two highs there. That is, if we break that point, I think that will release quite a lot of energy, but it has to deal with all that resistance up there, but it does seem to want to push up. It'll be pretty disappointing if it fails at 24.80 and turns down again, because that would indicate a retest of this $22 level. So there we are. There are the two highs there that we're testing, going up towards testing. It's looking reasonable. The approach looks reasonable. The RSI is looking fair at it, so we'll watch. So look at that level, watch that level, have that on your alert, and watch for the behavior at it. At the moment, it's got positive energy, but not strong positive energy. So it's hard to say whether it's going to break out, but it's moving towards it, that's for sure. So watch carefully for potential breakout or failure, very close to where we are now on silver. Now moving to the crude oil. So now this is this is a very big level technically. 2018 high, the end of the year there was at 86.74, 86.70 is the high here. So we've tickled it, but so far backed off from it, and that's what's actually happening. So it's backed off from it. At the end of the week, it's steadied up here, which is encouraging. So it seems to have found a base and sort of tested the high, backed off. Now looks ready to have another go at it. It's moving upwards with the RSI also turning upwards here, but it hasn't got a lot of energy. So I'm a bit skeptical that it's ready to make what will be technically a massive breakout if it can break through that high there. Oh, we're so close to it. And if it does, I think that the air is clear. We're moved to over $100. I think something like that, because the tumble that we had when we went down through there was so fast that there's very different resistance there. So I think that it's I think it's going to make the break eventually. I'm not 100% sure about that. Of course, no one ever is 100% sure about anything. But it looks like it wants to try and do it, but it doesn't look ready to do it quite yet. If you see what I mean. So we may have to do a bit more churning below that important level, but we really know where the level is. And the other good thing is also, it will be very disappointing if we break this 80-20 low now. So that could cause quite an extinction of the sell-off and a delay to the next attack on the high. But this is getting ready for something big, I think.
Trevor?
All right, so now we'll move to the... Yes,
Trevor, can I just interrupt you there? I sensed that you were about to move on. Yes. We've had a request from Roland. Now, we don't actually offer this, but we might be interested to take a look. He said, could you please look at copper?
Okay. Okay, I have got high-grade copper here. That's the COMEX copper futures here. This is the November. I will have to move this forward actually, because that's no, November's still the swap month. So let's stick with the November. So on the weekly chart here, and it's we, you know, what Roland knows is we've had this great bull run. We have the two tops. I would call that those the same. I'm not calling, you know, so I'm not calling it a double top because it isn't a double top. It isn't a double top unless it breaks through $4 here. Yeah, $4 here. That completes it high, the same high, and that's it. It's just we stopped at the same place twice so far. The pattern is still essentially long-term bullish pattern, and I know Chinese copper is it's got a very similar pattern, but much tighter consolidation going on here, which is a little bit more bullish than the New York COMEX one. It has drifted off. It's come back to, on the daily chart, to quite good support level at 430. Yeah, 430, centered on 430, and it seems to be stabilizing. And so my view on this is that it has backed off from the previous high. It's come back to support, seems to be stabilizing. The next step could be that we start to go up again, and it's got the first signs of it as we start the week. That might be the case, but it's low energy here. We've got the volume. The volume is below its 5-day average, and also its 20-day average low volume for the market. So that's typical of stabilizing behavior here. So look for that to start to turn up, like a little cup shape here. Breaking 440 would be very encouraging, particularly if it did it with a big white body candle and high volume. That would tell you that that pullback is complete and we're ready to go back and retest those two tops in there. I don't know, you know, what if you've got a position or how you're placed in it, but the long-term picture is bullish. We've got very strong resistance at those two highs there. We've got very good support below us here. So this is a good place for it, a logical place for it to stabilize, and it's beginning to look like it's stabilizing. So I hope that helps, getting ready potentially to have another attack on those two highs there.
Actually, Trevor, that's not all.
Oh.
There's another. He also asks Roland again. Could you please look at TTF next month?
TTF, okay.
Yeah, this is something we also don't offer at FX Choice.
Yeah, no, and Roland must be in the business, as they say. Okay, I would say TTF front month.
Maybe you can explain what TTF is as well.
Yes, it's TTF is Dutch gas, and the front month is the most liquid contract for it. It trades from day ahead right out, but it's gas, and the Dutch gas is the biggest market. Everybody, there's a UK gas, there's a French, there's a Czech, there's a Bulgarian gas market, but there's, because of the pipeline, the network of pipes, you can basically move gas around. It's complicated, but so they're highly correlated. But the lead one with the highest volume is the TTF gas. So I'm actually I'm very pleased to be asked to do this. It is my business here. So here we are, TTF front month here. For the rest of you, It's an interesting chart. Let me just give you some background for those of you that are not familiar. Gas, as you probably heard, went up a lot. So it was steadying, and then it went parabolic by this enormous spike here. This was it seems to have been a rogue trader, not a rogue trader, but a trader gone berserk event. And we powered into this spike here. And look at the difference in price, you know, so it doubled and doubled and doubled. In this run up here, went parabolic, it's the weekly chart. Then we had this catastrophic week when it absolutely collapsed. And the question is it's come down now. So here it is going up here. And look at that in one day. That's in one day. That's the market going from 162 down to 100 in one day, 110 in one day. That's big money and big move there. Then it's come down, then it's putting in a pattern of lower highs in here and lower lows in here. And so what have we got? We are moving towards support, towards a resistance at 81.58, 96.50, and this one here at 109 something. We've got a volume profile here at 90, and we're building this volume profile as we're churning on fair volume around this level. Support 61.51 is the major support, and then there's a bit of a worrying valley of volume profile in here. So if it starts to go down, it could go down quite a lot. But at the moment, it's on the right side of this mountain here, which means it's probably going to steady up a bit into resistance, which is above it, centered on 90. Okay, so that's what I think it's going to do. It's going to steady up and into resistance, which is centered on 90, and probably will be sufficient to stop it going further. Okay, good question, Roland. Thank you for that. But for the rest of you, I hope you found it interesting. But it's gas. It's gas like you have in your central.
We don't offer this FX choice.
Yeah, no, and no other broker does. It's not a retail product at all. It's the contract size is huge. No one can afford it. Okay, so thanks, Roland, for indulging me, I think, with that. We'll move on, if that's all right. Okay, so we're moving now to the stock indexes. So let's start with the US 500 here. Wow, here we go. It just goes and goes and goes, doesn't it? It's up and up. We had that pullback, and we pushed ahead. Now, what I want to show you here is this chart, which actually I've shown you before. This is updated seasonal chart, and I can't believe my eyes when I see how this is going according to plan, if you like, just like the textbook. Let me explain what these lines are. The red line is 2021 so far, so that's what we've got here. That's where we are now today. The black line is the average index. This is all indexed to 100 at the start here in January the 1st, of the price action from 1990 to 2019. And so that's the black line there. But there was one exceptional year in that, which is the global financial crisis, which really skewed it quite a lot. So the grey line is with that year taken out. So just say that's a spurious, exceptional year, but the pattern was still generally the same, but this was so much deeper because of the financial crisis. So let's say that's the normal seasonal pattern. So in the first half of the year, we tend to be steady, we flatten out, but we have a strong negative period during October, from the end of August to the third week of October. That's it there. But this is this year. Look at this. It did exactly what it's supposed to do. And then notice what happens here. This is normally the strongest part of the year. This is when the biggest gains of the year take place, from the third week of October into December, the end of December. And we're on track to do that now. And we're powering ahead. So this is, quite remarkable seasonal behavior. I find it hard to understand why this is so strongly a commodity, a grains, or oil, where you have winter and summer and things like that, I can understand. But here we've got this very strong seasonal pattern, which is amazing how well it works. So here it is. So there was that period, that weak period that we were due, and here we're having the strongest part of the year, and it's pushing ahead powerfully here. So looking lovely. That's a weekly chart, so just to show you how lovely. But it's powering ahead here on the daily chart to all these indicators. The ADX here is at the ADX is at 31 and rising. The trend is strengthening. The RSI is at 88. Yes, it is overbought, but it's got to 88 because it's really strong. The MACD is very bullish as well. It looks bullish. Onwards and upwards is really what it says. But there is one better, which is the Tech 100, and I'll show you that the weekly chart. This is relatively stronger. You know, this is really powering ahead here. Here's the ADX, the RSI on it. The MACD is a long last crossing on it. It's late because of that V-shaped bottom there, but it's very powerful indeed. And we've liked it, as you know, and preferred it to the US 500 itself. Here it is powering ahead. Moving average 20s above its 50s above the 200. That's very bullish intermediate and long term. The ADX is at 33 and rising, strong trend strengthening. RSI is at 91, and rising. That's strong market strengthening. Yes, it's a high reading, it's a hard number to maintain, but there's no sign of weakness yet. So don't think that it has to go down simply because it's at that reading. The MACD is also strong. This is of the two. Look, this looks the best, and they are singularly the best of the developed markets. Looking at the next best, and so looking closer to Europe, then we've got the DE30. Now this is of course not like the Tech 100 and the US 500, which are powering ahead. It is moving ahead, had a pullback, and now it's flirting with its high. And it looks likely to break it and to push ahead, and then that puts it in new high territory. So watch out for that. Here it is, right at it now. Could fail, and it is not a very powerful attack on the high, and so it hasn't got a lot of energy. Look at the Bollinger Bands; they're moving up in parallel here, so not expanding, no increase in energy. And the ADX is reading 17. It's weak market, so. You know, it wouldn't shock me if it was here, but it is moving up towards it there, which is good. And then the UK 100, oh dear, what a shame about this one. The problem is with this one is that it's got this here. This is the weekly chart here, 2018 through to 2019. This big consolidation in here, and massive, and that's resistance. It has broken the recent highs here, but you know, it's punching into kind of sludge, really. It's not blue sky, it's heavy cloud, or I don't know what analogy to use for it here, but it's going to find it hard to keep going up. You know, going through clear blue air, sky is much easier to make new highs. But here, there's all sorts of poor old people that have still got stuff they bought in 2018 and 2019. I'm just so glad. Oh, I've been nursing losses on that for 2 years, and now here the market has come back and let me out of jail for free. There's loads of those people. They're nursing bad positions, and they're going to make it very difficult for this market to advance. So it's my least favorite, as you know. But one thing I should say, and I'm talking here about the UK 100. UK 100 is not the UK at all. It is the most popular index. It's the one we look at, but it is a very peculiar index made up by commodity companies, mining companies, a lot of dollar earners, and it's not, you know, a description of UK PLC. If you go to the FTSE All Share Index, which isn't one that we trade, and unfortunately it isn't, you know, the barometer, but it is actually truthfully the barometer of the UK PLC. And this one is full of UK industrial companies and, you know, technology companies and things that we, you know, really represent the UK economy much better than these ones, which are made up of Kazakhstan mining stocks and things like that in the FTSE 100. And that's making new highs, and that's looking brilliant. That's a different market. Unfortunately, everybody focuses on this one, which doesn't represent the UK as an index of description of the state of the UK. The UK stock market is actually going up, but this narrow-based market, so heavily dominated by commodity companies and foreign commodity companies. Nothing wrong with being foreign, but they are actually dollar earners, and so the dollar strength is really taking its toll here. But when you take the dollar out and you take an industrial company that sells to the UK as a population, these companies are doing really, really well. So UK PLC is actually doing really well, but the FTSE, because it's not UK PLC, is not doing well. Okay, but if you trade the FTSE, that's no consolation, is it? Okay, thanks very much. Daniel, do we have any questions at all?
No, that was it. Well, thank you very much for attending, everyone. Please join us again, same time, same place next week. And don't forget that we're posting this to our this webinar to our YouTube channel at some point today. So if you came later and want to watch from the beginning, you can go over to our channel and do so there, or you can just watch a small piece of it. And if you do go over there, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to get notified. Okay, Trevor, anything else to add? Final comments?
No, nothing at all. We've got some interesting markets, particularly the cryptos and the stock indices. The currency markets you've got this dominance of the dollar, and they sort of switch around against that. Potential demand, potential interest coming in the precious metals and the crude oil crucial. What happens here. But thanks very much for listening, everybody. I feel honoured you've come. And have a great week, and may the trend be with you.
And also with you, Trevor. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thanks, Dan. Bye-bye.